Ladies and gentlemen, E3 is exactly 1 month away and it's arguably the biggest event for gamers regardless of your preferred way to play. Lots of big news and new games get announced, and I thought I ought to make a video regarding what has been confirmed so far, what games are rumoured to appear, and what would be most surprising to see. This is a fairly long video, so I recommend you listen to it like a podcast whilst doing something productive. I'll go through each company that's slated to appear, such as Sony, Microsoft, Bethesda, etc., and take a look at what we can expect from them. I put time jumps in the comments if you want to skip a particular section, such as the PC conference. Just kidding, I haven't bothered doing that one. Anyway, without further ado, here's the latest news and gossip for E3 2018. The conferences are set to begin on June 9th and end on June 12th, and first up will be EA, Electronic Arts. Now, EA has had a really bad year since their last E3, and mainly to do with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the loot box debacle, really. It was just a terrible game upon release, just nickel and dimed gamers for everything they were worth, and finally gamers just got absolutely sick of it. There was a huge backlash to the point where politicians and laws and stuff are coming into effect now to regulate loot boxes and microtransactions, and there's even been rumours that Disney are pissed off at EA and, possibly even considering giving the Star Wars license to another publisher. So EA, I imagine there's not a lot of people that fussed about EA this year, and probably at EA I would imagine they are hoping to regain a bit of confidence from gamers. That said though, there isn't a great deal confirmed so far for EA, or really that much to speculate on, but there are a couple of things. So first of all, confirmed to be appearing this year will be Anthem, which was announced at last year's E3 and appears to be a kind of essentially a mix of sort of The Division and Destiny, a futuristic sci-fi open world, seemingly future type of shooter game. It looked very impressive. They showed what was claimed to be a gameplay video, which to be fair looked stunning and certainly got the intrigue of a lot of gamers, but that intrigue was curbed by the fact that this is EA, and I fully believe that it will launch with a bunch of microtransactions and loot boxes and will nickel and dime gamers. So personally I'm not too fussed about it, but if you enjoy Destiny, if you enjoy The Division, then Anthem may well have your attention. And as I said, it's confirmed to be shown again at this year's E3. I imagine we'll see more gameplay, possibly a release date, more info about the world, the environments, how it will play out, how many players could group together, that kind of thing. And I don't know, one would hope EA has learnt its lesson, and that if loot boxes or microtransactions are present, they will be very much in the background and done responsibly. But again, this is EA, they never seem to learn their lesson, so I don't have my hopes up too high for Anthem, and I suggest you be cautiously optimistic if it does look like something you're into. Another confirmed game is Battlefield 5. Now, confusingly, Battlefield 1 was released year before last, I believe, 2016, and was set in World War One, and was generally very well received. Personally, I'm not a huge first-person shooter guy, but even I enjoyed it. I played it for quite a while, and I thought overall it was a pretty good game, and it was refreshing to return to, period history, World War One, that kind of era, rather than the futuristic shooters that have dominated recently. But yeah, it seems like Battlefield 5, whatever that's going to be, is confirmed to be announced at E3 this year, so shooter fans look forward to that. I'm cautiously optimistic. As bad as Star Wars Battlefront 2 was, I didn't hate Battlefield, so I'm intrigued to see what they've got up their sleeve this time. Could it be more World War One? Will they move to World War Two? Could it be Vietnam, or will it go back to a futuristic setting? Who knows? But yeah, definitely one to watch out for. This hasn't been confirmed, but it's something I always, for the past few years, have hoped to hear from. Amy Hennig, who was a writer for the Uncharted series, the first 3 Uncharted games at Naughty Dog, left Naughty Dog and went to EA to start working on a Star Wars game, which has yet to be officially announced. Now, this was a few years ago, about 3 years ago now, it's still not officially been announced. And so since I heard about this, I've been hoping to hear about this Star Wars game. But so far, we've not heard anything. A lot of people consider it to be in development hell. But, a great time to announce a new Star Wars game and to get the bad taste of Star Wars Battlefront 2 out of our minds would be to announce a new Star Wars game completely. If Amy Hennig's writing it, it sounds like it would be more single player based and have a good story, something like Star Wars 1313. So, I would hope to see that. It may well not be announced at all, but that's something I'd love to hear from EA. And then last but not least, obviously there's going to be the regular sports games that EA puts out, things like FIFA, NHL, all that kind of thing. And again, I don't think that's anything to be too excited about. I mean, if you enjoy those games, if you're into those sports, fair enough. But at the same time, they're released every year. They're fairly similar to one another. I can't see that being something people really talk about during EA's conference. I don't think that'll be what people remember it for. So yeah, my best bets would be Anthem and Battlefield will be the things to watch out for from EA. And who knows what else they might announce, possibly new IPs. But overall, I think EA is one of the lesser conferences to be excited about. And, given how poor their relationship with gamers has been over the past year, I think they really only have themselves to blame for that. Next up on June 10th, we've got Microsoft's conference, mainly for the Xbox One, of course. Now, I think it would be fair to say that the Xbox One has had a rough time of it lately, mainly because a lack of first-party games, really high-quality first-party games, and that's something that its main rival, the PlayStation 4, has just been slamming. Do you know what I mean? The PS4 has had Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War recently, Shadow of the Colossus Remastered, whereas the Xbox One's first-party games have released mainly to a mediocre reception, most recently Sea of Thieves, for instance. And a lot of people are saying that it's really do or die for Microsoft at this year's E3. They need to give Xbox fans a reason to stay on their console. And, there has been some rumours that it's going to be a big one for Microsoft this year, but they've kept their cards very close to their chest, and we know little about what's confirmed to be at E3 this year. So it's anyone's guess, but certainly there are a number of things that people are hoping to see. First of all, Fable 4. Now, Fable Legends was in development and was set to be a big title for the Xbox One before it got cancelled quite late in its development cycle. And that disappointed a lot of fans. The Fable franchise is synonymous with Xbox, and the announcement of Fable 4 I think could be excellent. Personally, I love Fable 1 and 2. Wasn't so big on 3, but I think the franchise is really great. I love its quirky, kind of charming humour. And the announcement of Fable 4 could be just what the Xbox needs right now. There have been rumours that a new game is in development, and E3 would be the perfect time to announce it, show off a little trailer, maybe even some gameplay. I think, a lot of Xbox fans would be very pleased to see a new Fable game announced. Obviously as well, the Halo franchise is synonymous with Xbox. We had Halo 5 not too long ago, which I haven't played, but I hear was pretty good. And it seems like Halo 6 could certainly be something that's coming to us in the near future. And again, E3, perfect time to announce these big games, and would be the perfect time to announce Halo 6. And again, reassure gamers that there are some great Xbox One titles on the way. Some big, AAA games to look forward to. Now, next up we have Crackdown 3. Crackdown 3 is almost a joke at this point. It was originally announced at E3, I think 2015, possibly even 15 I'd say, and was set to be released in 2016. Then it got delayed to a release in late 2017, and now it's been slated to release in mid-2018. Now, if Crackdown is set to release in the middle of this year, then why have we not heard anything from it in so long? I mean, it looks like a great title. It looks very ambitious, which is no doubt what's contributed to its delays. But I really feel like if it doesn't get a release date at this year's E3, then it may as well be cancelled, because you just can't keep gamers waiting this long. And, I hate console wars. I've no interest in trying to one-up the Xbox or the PS4 or PC or whatever game or whichever platform you think suits you best. But I feel bad for Xbox One owners at this point, with the amount of cancelled titles like Scalebound and Fable Legends they've had to endure. I really hope Crackdown 3 does get a solid release date, a lot of gameplay trailers, and we get to see it a lot at this year's E3, because if it misses this year's E3, then I don't have much hope for it. So yeah, I along with a lot of Xbox One gamers will no doubt be hoping that Crackdown has a major appearance at E3. Next up, I think it would be interesting to see some kind of expansion announced for Sea of Thieves. As I said, Sea of Thieves, it seems, is a solid game at its core, but it's just lacking in content. I've heard the phrase "wide as an ocean, shallow as a puddle" aptly put to Sea of Thieves, and it seems like a game that could really be great if Rare sticks with it and gives it more content, more expansions. And a great way to reassure gamers that that's on its way is to announce such an expansion at E3, really meaty expansion, preferably for free, which adds a lot of the content that people were hoping would be there at launch. New ships, customizable stuff, more reasons to keep playing, more missions, more exploration. I think the Sea of Thieves community is desperate for that, and if this game wants to have the legs it was promised, then it needs to receive some more content. Next up, Ori and the Will of the Wisps was announced last year. We haven't heard a lot of news on that since then, but it was first announced last year, so that's to be expected. And I think it's pretty safe to say that we'll hear more of it at this year's E3, some gameplay no doubt, and possibly a launch trail, a release date. Sorry, I think that's a pretty safe bet. Ori and the Blind Forest, the original game, was a huge hit, a huge success, and this seems like another safe bet and another great game for Xbox gamers. Also, I think it would be great if Microsoft announced some new IPs. Sony's been doing that a lot lately, and I feel like Xbox needs to, be like, yeah, we've got new ideas we're working on as well that, might not be out this year or even next year, but just so Xbox gamers can know that there's stuff in the pipeline, new ideas, not having to rely on the likes of Fable and Halo, that there's going to be fresh meat, New IPs really are the lifeblood of the gaming industry, and I'd love to see Xbox embrace that. They certainly did in the 360 era, and, hopefully this year they announce a couple of new titles. Something that may be announced, I'm sceptical about, but it's certainly possible. Gears of War 5. 4 came out a couple of years ago to, strong reviews, a solid title for Xbox gamers, and, it set a new story in motion. There's clearly places Microsoft wants to go with that franchise, and I'm sure there will be a Gears of War 5 sooner or later, but will it be announced at this year's E3? Hard to say, but it would certainly be another solid thing for Xbox gamers to have announced. Last but not least, I think it's pretty safe to say there might be some PUBG content announced. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, the famous Battle Royale gaming game, was put onto the Xbox One from PC late last year. It is currently in kind of Xbox's early alpha, if you like, program where you can play it even though it's not quite finished, but it's been hugely popular. I believe a new map has been revealed for it, or if not released for it, since it was put on there. And I think the news of more content for PUBG coming to Xbox One would definitely go down well. Hopefully also, stabilizing it, making it a quality polished game, not perhaps seeing it come out of early access would be great, saying that, it will be a finished product soon, as well as perhaps new maps, customizable clothes, equipment, weapons, vehicles, anything like that I think would go down really well and just help the community flourish even more than it already is. So yeah, that's Microsoft's, what we can expect from Microsoft's conference. As I say, I think they really need to deliver the games this year if they want to keep their Xbox fans happy and compete with the PlayStation 4, which has already got plenty of exclusive IPs on the way and has already had plenty. So I really hope Xbox doubles down this year and delivers the good. Phil Spencer will be watching you. You know, I really hope we see Halo 6, Fable 4, Crackdown. We have to see it, otherwise, in my opinion, it's dead. And yeah, I just hope we see more games for Xbox, because it really deserves them. And then following Microsoft's conference, we'll have Bethesda on the same day. Now, Bethesda's conference, I feel, could go either way. It could either be great or it could be as rubbish as last year. Now, Bethesda has confirmed that we will hear news regarding Elder Scrolls, Doom and Fallout. But don't get too excited. That doesn't necessarily mean we're getting a new Elder Scrolls game or a new Doom or a new Fallout. It could be that the news will be about the Elder Scrolls Legends card game, or, you know, Elder Scrolls Online expansion, which I hear is a good game, but, you know, not the same as Elder Scrolls 6. And the same goes for Doom and Fallout. You know, it could be extra content, DLC, a Fallout card game or something. I definitely don't think we'll be seeing a new Fallout game announced. Possibly a new Doom. The last one was released in 2016, but, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't hold your breath just yet. Now, the Elder Scrolls Online has been very popular. It's, you know, one of the best MMOs you can play on consoles, I'd say. It's definitely very good. So an expansion for that would be very well received, I'm sure. But it wouldn't be as well received as if they announced the Elder Scrolls 6. We haven't had a new installment in the Elder Scrolls main franchise since Skyrim, which came out all the way back in 2011, if you can believe that. It's been re-released several times on, you know, the PS4 and the special editions and stuff. But it's been a while since we've had a new installment in the series, and it kind of seems like we're getting to that point where at any point they could announce the Elder Scrolls 6. But it has been said that 2 new Bethesda games will launch before the Elder Scrolls 6, which hasn't yet happened. So it's possible that, again, we won't see it. But I do know that if the Elder Scrolls 6 is announced by Bethesda at E3 this year, that will be one of the highlights of E3. I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls series, and, you know, I would lose my shit if they announced it. So, yeah, I know a lot of people would love that. But I'd say it probably won't be announced, but it would certainly be cool, wouldn't it? Now, a new IP that Bethesda has kind of teased and is, you know, it hasn't been officially announced yet, but it seems quite certain it's something they're working on, is called Starfield. From what I understand, it's essentially an RPG like the Elder Scrolls or Fallout, but set in space, a bit like Mass Effect, really. And there were a lot of rumours it was going to be announced at last year's conference, but it just wasn't. And the conference itself was quite short, and not really much interesting news was announced. Some people say it was set to be announced last year, but they stopped at the last minute. But other people think that we could see it this year. Now, if Starfield is announced this year, then that could be almost as big as the Elder Scrolls 6, if it is indeed a full-fledged RPG set in space, you know, by Bethesda. That could be really cool. A big talking point for sure. But, you know, we'll have to see. Nothing's been officially confirmed so far. It's also worth noting that Bethesda has supported Nintendo Switch with a lot of ports of their games. Skyrim has come to the Switch, and both Doom and Wolfenstein 2, I believe, are set to be ported to the Switch later this year. So I think it's pretty safe to say we might well see some footage of that, or at least news of that. And, you know, they'll be showing off the games running on the Switch. It's possible as well we'll see more of both Skyrim and Fallout VR, you know, adding extra content or just stabilising it, trying to shift units. That's certainly possible. But yeah, overall, I'm not sure we should expect anything massive from Bethesda. Don't get me wrong, Starfield's certainly possible, maybe the Elder Scrolls 6, but, you know, I think when they say things like Elder Scrolls, Doom and Fallout, it's more going to be things like the VR and the card game and stuff like that. I wouldn't get your pre-orders going for Elder Scrolls 6 just yet, but that would certainly be massive if they did announce it, and they know that. So, I'm sure it will come soon, but it remains to be seen if we'll see it this year. Next up on the 11th, we've got Ubisoft's conference. Now, they have confirmed that The Division 2 will be shown at E3. The Division perhaps didn't launch to be the Destiny killer it was billed as, but it certainly garnered a strong following since it was first released, and is definitely in a better state now than it was upon its launch. And I think a lot of people will be intrigued by The Division 2. If Ubisoft uses the lessons they learnt with the first one on this, then it could be as great as the franchise was originally expected to be. And yeah, I think this will definitely be a big talking point for E3 for a lot of people, and definitely something Ubisoft will want to lead with. Now, the Assassin's Creed franchise, it's been confirmed we won't be getting a new Assassin's Creed this year. Usually the series gets a new game out every year, but recently they've decided to take a year off now, and so I don't think we'll see a new game until 2019. However, that doesn't mean we might not hear some Assassin's Creed related news. It's possible we might get another expansion or DLC pack for Assassin's Creed Origins. It's certainly a massive game, and there's plenty to be explored. The Curse of the Pharaohs was the last expansion to be released, which seems to be the last for now. But, again, as I say, it's a big game. There's a lot to explore. Ancient Egypt is a big setting. So it's certainly possible that they might decide to release, one last expansion or something just to tide Assassin's Creed fans over until next year. It's perhaps possible that they might announce the new Assassin's Creed game of next year this year, if you see what I mean. That they might go, the next Assassin's Creed will be set in China or whatever, and here are some trailers, you could expect it next year. I doubt they'll do that, to be honest. I think they'll leave that for E3 next year. But I think it's certainly possible we might hear some Assassin's Creed news of some kind. Now, this next one, there have been a couple of rumours, not many, and certainly nothing confirmed by any means. But this is just something I would personally love to see. Given that Assassin's Creed might be, on the back burner this year, how great would it be if they announced a new Prince of Persia game? Prince of Persia really set the groundwork for the Assassin's Creed franchise, and it's been a while since we've had a new game out, and you might say it's similar to Assassin's Creed with its kind of free running mechanics, which is certainly true. But in Prince of Persia, you could control time, which opens a lot of options up for puzzles and combat and such, which I think was really fun in past installments. Honestly, the past Prince of Persia games, the more recent ones, perhaps weren't as good as the main series on the PS2. But I think it's a franchise that perhaps suffered from a bit of fatigue towards the end. But I'd love to see a new Prince of Persia game announced. And again, I think that would appeal to a lot of Assassin's Creed fans. So, nothing by any means has been confirmed or any even legit rumours. But I would personally be really happy to see Prince of Persia come back to the forefront of Ubisoft's franchises, and E3 would be a great time to do that. Speaking of rumours, again, nothing has been confirmed, but there have been rumours that Ubisoft might announce a new Splinter Cell game. It's been a couple of while since that stealth genre was explored by Ubisoft, been a few years since the last Splinter Cell game, and again, it would be great to see a fresh game announced, new adventure with Sam Fisher to go on. And I think it would be really interesting because essentially Splinter Cell is kind of the last big stealth game around at this point. After Metal Gear Solid 5 was released in 2015, Kojima left Konami, and there hasn't been a proper Metal Gear game since then. We had Metal Gear Survive, which was rubbish and completely not in the spirit of the series and very much a spin-off. And, it would be great if Ubisoft, there's a gap in the market now, and Ubisoft, I think, should seize that and release a new Splinter Cell game. They'd no doubt attract a lot of Metal Gear fans. Sam Fisher, the protagonist of the series, was featured in the recent Rainbow Six game, Wildlands game, and, that was it could be seen that was seen as them testing the waters. There have been reports that Michael Ironside, the voice actor for Sam Fisher, has been working on some new stuff with Ubisoft. So yeah, possibly it seems like this could be one to watch out for at Ubisoft this year. Little surprise there. I'd personally love to see a new Splinter Cell game announced. I'm a big fan of the stealth genre. Personally, I always preferred Metal Gear Solid to Splinter Cell, but now that's, Kojima has left with that, I'd be happy to get my fix from the Splinter Cell series. And I've enjoyed Splinter Cell games in the past, and I think, if Ubisoft really doubles down on it, a new Splinter Cell game could really be fantastic. Another game that hasn't been confirmed, but I think is almost certainly going to be at the conference this year, is Beyond Good and Evil 2, that long awaited sequel to the original PS2 game. It was first announced really as a surprise at Ubisoft's conference last year and was a massive talking point. The game turns 20 this year, so it seems like a great way to mark that would be for them to have a big E3 presence of Beyond Good and Evil 2 this year. Show some gameplay, maybe even a release date. I think it's a good bet to say we'll be seeing more of that this year. It was a big talking point for last year, and hopefully plenty of work on the game has been done since then. I think it's also possible some Far Cry 5 DLC will be announced and shown at E3, some gameplay and stuff. Not a major announcement by any means, but, certainly something that fans of the game will be interested in. Far Cry 5 got strong reviews, and, announcing DLC at E3 this year is just a good way to get exposure on that. Last but not least, I think it's also pretty safe to say we'll see more of Skull and Bones, the game that was announced at E3 last year by Ubisoft, which essentially seems to be a pirate game using the mechanics of the sailing in the Assassin's Creed series, but it's not Assassin's Creed. This is going to be its own franchise. And as someone who really enjoys the sailing mechanics of Assassin's Creed, I loved Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I'm very intrigued by this game. It seems like it will have online, and you'll be able to, have massive naval battles with your friends, as well as explore the seven seas. And it seems like there'll be some kind of fantasy elements in it, like a kraken involved. Yeah, I'm intrigued by this game. I'm pretty certain we're going to hear more of it this year. And, who knows, perhaps Ubisoft, given the recent kind of failure of Sea of Thieves to live up to its perceived potential, I hope Ubisoft takes this chance and, uses this opportunity to make Skull and Bones the pirate game everyone's craving, and to make it, have more of a bang when it releases than Sea of Thieves. So, yeah, I think this is definitely one that we'll hear more from and hopefully see some gameplay of. Next up, we have Square Enix, which will be on the 11th as well. Now, Square Enix is another company that's been keeping its cards pretty close to its chest regarding E3, but I think we can make some educated guesses at what we might see from them. First of all, the Final Fantasy VII remake was announced at their E3 conference in 2015, and still isn't out, much to the misery of Final Fantasy fans everywhere. Now, I really feel like they need to show us something this year at E3 before it's completely forgotten about. But there have been rumours that development has been a lot more troubled than was expected to be at first. So, it's really anyone's guess at this point. It seems possible the whole project could be scrapped if things get so bad. But, Square Enix, to be fair to them, they don't tend to give up very quickly. Final Fantasy 15 was 10 years in the making, but eventually it still got released, and in my opinion was a very good game. So I wouldn't bet on it getting cancelled just yet. It does seem like there are some troubles going on behind the scenes, but I think it will come out eventually. But here's hoping sooner rather than later. And this E3 will be a great way to remind fans that it's still on the cards, to reassure people it is still coming out, even if they don't really announce a release date. Just to see some gameplay, a new trailer, just some more information would be a great way to keep it alive in our minds. Next up, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 certainly needs to get a release date. It's been in development for a long time. It seems all Square Enix games go through that. But, it does seem like it should be near completion now. We've seen a lot of gameplay of it. It certainly looks great. and we've heard a lot of news and stuff. I feel like they need to push it out now. Now is the time. So hopefully we'll get a release date on that. Hopefully late this year, maybe early next. I don't know. I mean, I believe it's currently supposed to release this year, but who knows with delays and everything. But yeah, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 will definitely be shown off at their conference this year. And last but not least of games we can expect to see is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which was announced a few weeks ago. And again, Tomb Raider is a massive franchise in gaming. It's a huge hit for Square Enix. The past two Tomb Raider games since the reboot have been really well received. And, I'm totally on board. I'm looking forward to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I enjoyed the last two. And I think this is just a surefire hit for Square Enix. And if they show off gameplay, some trailers, give us some more information on the game and what's going to be involved, I think this could be another big talking point of E3. And it's set to be released later this year, I believe. I think I'm right in saying September time, possibly October. But it's coming soon, and it was only just recently announced, which I think is great. I love it when companies, announce a game just a few months before it's released, like Bethesda did with Fallout 4. I think that's a good way to do it, to avoid delays and disappointments. But yeah, I think we'll be seeing a lot of Shadow of the Tomb Raider in order to get people pumped and, to get people pre-ordering it. So yeah, those are the only really 3 games I can think that Square Enix will be showing this year. I think definitely see Kingdom Hearts 3 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, possibly Final Fantasy 7, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have a few surprises for us as well, a few things we don't know about, some new RPGs. An E3 a couple of years ago, they teased an RPG at the end of their conference they were working on. We might well see more of that this year. It seems, there's a lot of stuff Square Enix could or could not show this year, but those 3 I think are safe bets, especially Kingdom Hearts 3 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So, hopefully they'll surprise us with more, but to be honest, I think, if they do it right with Kingdom Hearts and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, give them release dates and stuff, then that could honestly be enough, I think. Those are 2 big games, and if we see some of Final Fantasy 7, then that would just be a bonus. It also seems possible that we might hear more from the Life is Strange series, the episodic games that have shot to popularity lately and kind of usurped Telltale at their own game, really. It's proved to be very popular, been a massive hit with critics and gamers. So, we had the first season, then kind of Before the Storm, which I believe was a kind of prequel. So possibly we might see Life is Strange Series 2 announced, Who knows? Nothing's been confirmed yet, but that would certainly fit the time frame of the series so far, and would definitely be something that would excite gamers. Next up, we have Sony's conference for their PlayStation 4 on June 11th as well. And the only game that's been confirmed so far is The Last of Us Part 2. Now, obviously, The Last of Us, was one of the best received games of the PS3, one of the best games of the generation. The remaster on PS4 is one of the highest ranked games. There's a huge amount of hype and interest behind The Last of Us Part 2. Will it be able to live up to the original? Who knows? But, as a big fan of the original, I'm really interested to see where they go with this and what happens to Joel and Ellie. So it certainly looks like we're going to see more of that. And we've already seen a couple of trailers for The Last of Us Part 2, but I wouldn't be surprised if this year we get to see some actual gameplay, perhaps more of the story as well, and possibly, dare I say it, a release date. I mean, this was announced over a year ago now, so I think it's possible that we could expect to see it come out late this year, perhaps, mid next year, perhaps next summer. But I definitely think it's coming soon, and I think it's going to have a big presence at E3 this year. Moving on, Sony have a lot of games that we could expect to see this year, I think, that have already been announced, but honestly, they look so good. I'm personally not too bothered if we don't see any stuff we don't already know about. I mean, Sony has got a lot of cool stuff coming. But that's not to say there won't be some new IPs. There certainly could be. We got a few surprises last year, such as Ghosts of Tsushima. And, you know, it's perfectly possible that this year we'll also see a couple of surprises that we don't know about. But even if Sony doesn't have any new IPs up their sleeve, I think there's still a number of big games that we could expect to see. Death Stranding, for instance, Hideo Kojima's new game for the PlayStation 4. We've seen a few trailers of that so far, and, you know, it was first announced, I believe, E3 2016. So I think it's perfectly possible that we could finally see some gameplay, which I know a lot of people are eager to see. You know, it looks like the trailers so far have been so cool, and they've been made with the in-game engine, but we haven't seen any concrete gameplay, and it just looks so intriguing. And I, for one, can't wait to see what Kojima does now that he's working on something other than Metal Gear Solid. So I think we could definitely expect to see some gameplay, a gameplay trailer this year. Possibly a release date, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Death Stranding. I think another surefire bet to see this year is Days Gone. It looks like a mix between The Walking Dead, The Last of Us, and Sons of Anarchy, if you've ever seen that. It kind of looks like Sony looked at the recent boring seasons of The Walking Dead and went, what if we made that good? And so far it looks brilliant. I mean, hundreds of zombies on screen at once. We saw some gameplay of that at last E3, and you know, I could say maybe we could see a release date announced for this one as well, with hopefully more gameplay, more trailers, more information about the world and such. I think that's another bet that we could expect to see. Another one I wouldn't be surprised to hear about is Ghosts of Tsushima, which is Sucker Punch's new game, and it you know, by the people that did the Infamous series. We don't know a great deal about this just yet. Last year it was announced and we saw a trailer. It appears to be set in Japan. You're put in the role of a samurai on a quest for revenge. And again, it looks fantastic. I'd love to see some gameplay of it, hopefully. I doubt we'll hear a release date, but I'd definitely like to see the game in action for sure. Then next up, a game we'll absolutely see. I would bet my life on Spider-Man, the PS4 exclusive game. That's set to be released on September 7th of this year, so it's coming up. I think we're absolutely gonna see a new gameplay trailer, some extended gameplay footage. I think it will be playable if you're actually at E3, so I think we'll start seeing journalists and such, you know, writing after the fact about the web slinging and the mechanics and how it feels. So yeah, if you're looking forward to that game, I think you're absolutely gonna see some stuff you like from that at this year's E3. Now, on to some things that, you know, could possibly be in the conference, but not necessarily. It was announced that there's going to be a remaster of the Medieval games from the PS1 era, if you ever played them. I'm old enough to have. So, I'm really excited about that. So, Daniel Fortescue, it'd be good to have him back. We just kind of saw a very short trailer announcing that. So, I think, you know, it's certainly possible we might get a new trailer, possibly some gameplay. Maybe a release date? I find it hard to tell. It could be a while off still, or maybe, you know, just where it's slightly smaller than the other big, you know, things like Days Gone and The Last of Us. Maybe, you know, it's well on its way and we'll get it this year. Hard to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. New IPs, of course. Again, as I say, there's so much stuff that's really strong, but we do already know about. That I feel like Sony have been doing so well lately, you know, off the success of their exclusives and such, that I really feel like with what they've got in the pipeline that's been announced and their recent success, they're probably not sweating this E3 too much. This really isn't do or die for them. If it is a disappointing E3 conference for Sony, which I'm not saying it will be, but if it was, I think plenty of people would still be happy to be on PlayStation given what we've already got coming over the next year. So I would love to see a surprise. I'd love them to announce something like the Shadow of the Colossus remaster they surprise announced last year, but you know, we'll see. But it would be great to have some new IPs, but I don't think it's do or die for Sony like it is for Xbox at this point. It's also worth noting that the developer Bluepoint Games, who are responsible for a lot of high quality remasters of late, such as the Shadow of the Colossus remaster, it's been rumoured that they're working on a new game at the moment. And it seems likely, given that all their past stuff has been for PlayStation, that this is another game that relating to the PlayStation. And I wonder if that will be announced at this E3. Now, the most likely game that it is they're remastering is either Demon's Souls or the original Metal Gear Solid. Now, personally, I think it's more likely to be Demon's Souls because Konami owns Metal Gear Solid, and so I'm just not sure if they would really be able to swing that. But given how many people, we've got the Dark Souls remaster coming out this year, and, Bloodborne has been a huge success. Demon's Souls is the game that kicked it all off on the PS3 but didn't sell very well. So I wouldn't be surprised if, given that a lot of fans of the Souls series missed it, it does make sense that it would be a game Sony would want to remaster and re-release. I think it would ship a lot of copies. So, or it could be something completely different. Who knows? But I'm very interested to see if we hear from Bluepoint at Sony's E3. It's also worth noting that the game Shadows Die Twice, from the makers of Dark Souls and Demon's Souls, that was teased last year just for a very quick CG trailer, and I wonder, we don't know if it's exclusive to PlayStation or not yet, but it's possible if it's like another Bloodborne or something. So it's possible we might see that at this year's E3. I'd certainly like to, because I'm a big fan of the Dark Souls games. Bloodborne's one of my favourite PS4 games, so I'm definitely looking out for that, but we'll have to see. Now, when it comes to Nintendo with E3, sometimes Nintendo attends, sometimes it doesn't. Oftentimes it'll do its own little conference online rather than attend E3. But this year, Nintendo will be present on June 12th. And so far it's been confirmed that Super Smash Bros. Is going to be something they'll be talking about. This was announced about a month ago. And basically it's a Smash Bros game for the Switch, but people aren't sure if it's a remake, or a port of the last Smash Bros, but for the Switch, or if it's going to be a completely new Super Smash Bros game. Now, obviously, these kind of fighting games, there's lots to talk about the roster, who's going to be in. The trailer revealed that the characters from Splatoon are in. Obviously, people like Mario and Samus are going to be there. But, they're it's funny, Nintendo isn't known for, its violent games, and yet the Smash games are hugely popular and really high quality. So it's really kind of surprising how interested people are in when a new Smash Bros. Is announced, given that the Nintendo tends to be a platform, with less kind of mature content on it. Although, it still is, cartoon-like characters like Peach and Mario just bashing the hell out of each other. It's not quite, Mortal Kombat, but still, there's a lot of interest in this, and, I can totally see why. It looks like it could be another great game for the Switch, and it looks like we'll definitely be hearing about it from Nintendo this year. Now, as I said earlier, Bethesda has ported several games to the Switch so far, and if Bethesda does announce more ports or more information on ports we already know about, such as Wolfenstein and Doom, I think Nintendo will also capitalise on that and expand upon it and show us, more trailers, more gameplay, more information. So I think that's pretty likely. If you're interested in playing Doom on the go, then I definitely look out for that. Now, Metroid Prime 4 was announced at last year's E3 or during last year's E3. I don't think Nintendo, they did their own thing, I think. But we really haven't heard much about this game so far, so I think this year we could definitely see a lot more information revealed about it, trailers and the like, hopefully some gameplay. It was literally like a JPEG last year, but so, Metroid Prime fans will no doubt be very eager to learn more about it, and I really can't imagine a better time for Nintendo to open up on it than E3. A lot of rumours have been suggesting there could be a Pokemon Switch game on the way. Now, exactly what that would be like, whether it would be like the Pokemon games on the 3DS, or, could it be something completely different? Dare I say a Pokemon MMO? Who knows? But there's been a lot of talk about that, and obviously with the success of Pokemon Go recently, a Pokemon Switch game would sell like hotcakes, I'm sure, So who knows, hopefully, but I've no doubt that that would be very popular and a big talking point of E3 should Nintendo have that up their sleeve. And last but not least, announced at the Game Awards last year in 2017, late last year, Bayonetta 3. At the Game Awards, it was announced that both Bayonetta 1 and 2 were being ported to the Switch. And then on top of that, it was announced that Bayonetta 3 is in the works. So we heard about that late last year. Again, perfect time, E3 for Nintendo to show off more of that. Those ports are now out for the Switch, so people who have played it and are now into Bayonetta, newcomers and such, and old fans alike, now's the perfect time to be like, you guys enjoyed the first two games? Well, here's more of Bayonetta 3. Possibly a release date, who knows? It depends how far into development they were when they first announced it. But Bayonetta is a franchise, that's kind of struggled to find its place. If it wasn't for Nintendo, we never would have got a second installment, which came out on the Wii U. And but it seems like Nintendo really saved this series, which is kind of surprising when you consider how mature and sexual it is. It's a half-naked witch in a kind of BDSM outfit, killing demons and such. No one would have thought Nintendo would be the one to save that franchise, but they did, and good on them, because they are very good games. So yeah, hopefully we'll see more from Bayonetta 3. It's also worth noting that Nintendo could have some surprises hidden up its sleeve. Who could have predicted Mario Kingdom Rabbids Adventure, whatever that game was called, the crossover between Ubisoft and Nintendo with Mario and the Rabbids, Kingdom Battle. I mean, no one saw that coming, so it's perfectly possible that there are things there aren't even rumours about at the moment, that big surprises that Nintendo could have for us. Games like Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2 have been huge hits for the Switch and really helped it shift units, and Nintendo, I'm sure, want to keep that momentum going, and the best way to do that would be to announce big new games, out of the blue. And again, so we could see something similar to that happen at this year's E3 as well. And last but not least, we're on to the miscellaneous announcements that could be featured in pretty much anyone's conferences. We'll start off with things that are confirmed. So Call of Duty Black Ops 4 has been announced. We're yet to see like an official reveal, but it's been confirmed that's the next Call of Duty. And it's been confirmed that we'll see more of it at E3. I think PlayStation has the kind of partnership with Activision at the moment. It used to be Xbox, so it would seem to be most likely we'll see that during the PlayStation conference. But in terms of what Black Ops is going to be about and the setting and characters and stuff, we don't know yet. There's been no official reveal just yet. We should get that soon and then see more of it, as I say, at T3. There are a number of rumours going around at the moment. It has been speculated that there'll be no single player in this year's release, and that it will have a Battle Royale mode. Now, both of those could be complete rubbish, but if it's true that it is a Battle Royale mode, obviously you need a large open map for that. So could it be possible that Black Ops 4 will kind of be an always online game where that's set in, a big open space with lots of players, and you can do missions and stuff and a variety of game modes that includes Battle Royale, possibly. Who knows? But, I'm intrigued to see. I've got to say, over the past few years, I've lost interest in the Call of Duty franchise. They've kind of lost me with the futuristic stuff, and I was quite interested in World War II, but the loot boxes in that, man, it just seemed so in the forefront of everything that I just couldn't bring myself to buy something that rewarded you for watching people opening loot boxes. I mean, for Christ's sakes. But, we'll see. I'd like Black Ops 4 to be good, but if it's got the kind of loot boxes we saw in World War II, then I'm out. There have also been rumours that Modern Warfare 2 will be remastered, and there have been rumours on top of that stating that it will just be the single-player campaign being remastered and there won't be multiplayer included, which seems crazy to me because, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Modern Warfare 2's campaign. It was a lot of fun, but the multiplayer is where it's at. That's where I spent, 90% of my time. And so the idea of them releasing single-player Modern Warfare 2, I really just don't see who's going to buy that. And if they do that, I've got a horrible suspicion they'll then charge extra like a year later when they release the online for it or something. So, but that is just rumours. Maybe they'll announce Modern Warfare 2 that's the single player and online completely remastered as one package, hopefully. But again, I hope they don't fuck it up like they did the Modern Warfare remaster by throwing loot boxes in. Again, I couldn't touch that because I just, who throws loot boxes into a game that didn't even have them originally, and then sold the extra maps. Didn't even include them in the remastered version, sold them at an extended price. I mean, fuck Activision. So maybe we'll hear of a Modern Warfare 2 remaster, but even if we do, I wouldn't hold your breath for it being any good. Now, another game that is confirmed, CD Projekt Red, who developed The Witcher games, The Witcher 3 most recently, has confirmed that they will be at E3 and that they will be showing an RPG, which seems like what they're saying is they're going to be showing the long-awaited Cyberpunk 2077, which is their new RPG they're working on. It's been in the works since The Witcher 3 launched. We haven't heard a lot from it recently, but then just the other day, the Twitter account tweeted for the first time in years, just going beep beep, showing, things are beginning to be set in motion. And it seems to me almost certain that it's Cyberpunk 2077 and that we're going to get to see the first sort of extended reveal of it. It's been confirmed that it exists and that they're working on it, but I think this will be the first full trailer, possibly some gameplay even. I'm not quite sure how far into development they are with it, but if it's been on the card since The Witcher 3 launch, then it should be a few years in by now. So I'm very interested to see that. The Witcher 3 is one of my favourite games of all time. CD Projekt Red have shown so much goodwill towards gamers. I think Cyberpunk is going to be another massive hit. And The Witcher 3 was kind of no one knew about CD Projekt Red that much. They weren't a household name like they are now when The Witcher 3 was being developed. Whereas now, I imagine they've got so much more at their disposal with Cyberpunk 2077 that I can't wait to see what they do with that. Speaking of CD Projekt Red, it could be possible we'll hear the official launch of Gwent, the Witcher card game, which personally I really enjoy. It is currently in its kind of open beta type thing, like you can play it and download it now, but it hasn't kind of officially launched yet. It's been available for quite a while now, while they're adding decks and sorting kinks out and stuff. So it could well be that off the back of 2077 we hear CD Projekt Red go, oh, and by the way, Gwent is now officially released. You could download it now or something. That would be cool. Who knows? We might not, but I think we'll definitely expect to see Cyberpunk at E3 this year. Another game that's speculated to be announced this year is Borderlands 3, the long-awaited Borderlands. We know for a fact that Gearbox is working on Borderlands 3. It has been confirmed, just not revealed yet. And given it's been a while since the Handsome Jack collection of Borderlands 2, I feel like now it should really be close to finish if they've been working on it for that long. So it seems perfectly possible that we might get an announcement trailer for Borderlands 3. I'd love to see some gameplay. As I say, it's been a while, so it seems like this could be the kind of game where they go, we're officially announcing it and it'll be out later this year or something, and that would be a huge deal because people love Borderlands. I'd love to have another Borderlands game, so we'll have to see. Spyro Remastered, or Reignited as it is called, I believe that's going to be available on a number of platforms. It's not Sony exclusive like Crash Bandicoot was when it was first announced, so it's hard to tell who will have that, but that was announced earlier this year and it's Spyro's 20th anniversary this year, I believe, so it seems very likely to me that we're going to see more of that at E3. I believe it may even be set to be released this year, so yeah, I think it's very probable we'll get to see some gameplay of Spyro Reignited. Hitman Season 2, the Season 1 episodic game came out 2015 and you can now purchase it in its full on disc now. So I feel like that's time for the creators to have begun Season 2. So I feel like it's very possible that we could see the announcement of Season 2 and the return of Agent 47. And also, Crash Bandicoot, I feel, is something we could also hear from. Perhaps not, but maybe. The Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy remastered thing was released last year on PS4 and is coming this year for other platforms. It was a massive success. The platformer has returned, Crash is back, and it has been confirmed that they're looking into making a brand new Crash game. So again, I wouldn't bet on it, but it's possible we might hear of this new Crash game this year. And last but certainly not least, Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, Rockstar is such a big company, and games like Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto, you know, they get so much press and they're such household names that Rockstar hasn't attended an E3 in a long time, okay? However, Red Dead Redemption 2 is out later this year in October, and it wouldn't surprise me if maybe Sony or Xbox, you know, has teamed up with Rockstar to show some footage, some gameplay footage would be excellent, you know? I mean, it's really not long now until Red Dead Redemption 2 is released, and it wasn't announced at an E3, it was just announced by Rockstar last year on Twitter, and, you know, they released YouTube trailers and such. But, you know, wouldn't it be great if at this E3, just to get people hyped, you know, remind people it's coming soon, get some Red Dead Redemption, get to see the game in action, maybe even have it playable on the floor for people there. I think that would be a great way for Rockstar to easily drum up, you know, hype and support for the game. But again, Rockstar, you know, tends to play its own game, so it's perfectly possible as well that it won't be at E3. But I think Rockstar would be missing some good advertisement there if they decided not to have it at E3, because you know, it's a very highly anticipated game, and I imagine both Sony and Microsoft would love to be able to have it in their E3 lineup. So we'll have to see, but you know, even if it's not at E3, I think we'll be hearing plenty from Red Dead Redemption over the next couple of months. So there you go. There are my thoughts and predictions on what we can expect from E3 this year. I think it certainly has the potential to be a very interesting E3, if not a great E3 even. I think it's definitely do or die for the Xbox at this point. I really think Microsoft needs to step their game up this year, and I look forward to seeing what games we have to look forward to over the coming year. I will review each conference as they come out when E3 actually begins. And yeah, if you've enjoyed my video, then feel free to subscribe.